by the arms of the law that much that they can't protect the people we're trying to save the most, because we've bound and gagged the authorities from being able to do so.
Yeah. Oh.
And for the media, I mean, this is where the media really starts to bite my ass, is when they start stretching those laws and saying, well, you know, this gives us the right to know where this person's being held. And no, if we let you, we let you know about a fucking website, not about, you know, you can't restrict the police from doing their job at the place this shit is going down. It's and then then the media is the first ones to bitch about how come the government can't do anything about this. Well, because of you stupid fucks.
Yeah, you're the fucking reason. So stop being a fucking asshole and start looking at the bigger fucking picture. Don't sit there and talk about it infringes on the rights of bullshit. No, it doesn't. When you're talking about illegal sex rings, when you're talking about child pornography, when you're talking about things of that specific nature, you do not protect that. You do not create laws to protect that. Those are crimes against humanity. They don't have one victim. They have that affects huge numbers of people. Each victim affects huge numbers of people.
Yeah,
because when these victims, if they survive it, now you're talking years of therapy, which costs a ton of money. Families have to come up with. You got the abuse, like you got all these things and all these people. The families have to learn how to deal with the new child that's all fucked in the head now. You have all these things that all come out because one guy decided, I need to fuck a child. No, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. You're a degenerate. And you should be fucking tortured for the next 10 years of your life every single day. The second you get used to the torture, change the torture to something more.
I can wrap my head around some nasty shit. Like, I can sit and imagine some pretty horrible things in my mind. One thing that I just can't grasp is how can you be one of the filthy fucking lawyers that defends these bastards? I just don't know how you can do it. You know what they've done. You know they're guilty as fuck, but it's your job to sit there and defend them. I would spend my entire life in the shower trying to wash that filth off me if I even attempted such a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. No. Yeah, Gord, here's your case for today. What's he up for? He is absolutely guilty of this, but you need to defend him. Nope.
Yeah.
No one's gonna do it. He can defend himself in court. I am not being a part of that. Fuck that.
And there's some bastards out there who'll do it for there's no limits to what money will buy. Especially in our two disgusting fucking countries. I can't believe it. You know, I don't know how anyone gets a lawyer. I don't like Paul Bernardo. How did him and Carla Homolka have lawyers? Lawyers who hid evidence for them, nonetheless. So that's what kind of people they are. I just couldn't.
That's as soon as somebody really comes up and says, "Actually, I'll defend them," you throw the biggest investigation against that fucking lawyer.
Yeah, right.
Because you know the guy's a criminal piece of shit.
And yet, he's not doing anything wrong.
Oh, yes, he fucking is.
That's just weird. It's a whole weird thing. We just make it more weird by tacking on stupidity on top of stupidity to the point where law books are the size of buildings and they make no fucking sense.
Yeah, it's just back talk on top of back talk.
It'd be really neat to cut a whole bunch of that fat right out of there. And just make laws a little more clear, because there doesn't need to be this ridiculous gray area in law. It can be a lot more simplified, and when it is, then people will stop doing crime, I promise you.
Yep.
And you can just lay down and go, this is wrong. And really, people, you should know what is wrong. I mean, it's an animal instinct. We know in our, it's instinctual what's wrong. You know it's wrong when you're doing it. You get that feeling. Whether you know it's wrong or not, you get that. That's a natural instinct. That's why animals don't do crime.
Yeah, that second thought that's going to go on, should I be doing this? No. See, that's when you know you're doing wrong.
The answer to that is always no.
Yeah.
If you have that feeling and you're asking yourself that, the answer is no. It's just go with it. That's an automatic no. Nothing that feels naughty isn't.
That's right.
And I don't mean sniffing your girlfriend's shoes. I'm talking in the hurting other people sense of the word. I could give a fuck if you like to choke yourself out and get hit in the balls with a high heel shoe or something behind closed doors. I don't care. But as soon as you start hurting someone else, then it's wrong, and just don't.
That's right.
How easy is it to just say don't? Like, it's one syllable, for fuck's sakes. It's that simple.
Yeah.
That's all the law books really need. The great people who created our Constitution and stuff, I'm not trying to discredit them for what they did, but we could have made it a whole lot easier. We could have just have a list of things, and then on the right-hand side it says don't.
Yeah. Simple.
And
Not a good idea.
Wouldn't be all this fucking confusion. And if Gord and I become Prime Minister 2019 this October 21st, I believe, is the magic day, we will instantly start simplifying things for you all, because they've just gotten so ridiculous.
Yep.
One thing that I don't know if we want to get, how deeply we want to get into it tonight, but one thing that's not ridiculous, it's actually quite elegant and a fantastic piece of legislation, in my opinion, is our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is one of very few in the world, believe it or not. Well, not all countries have a Charter of Rights. Some countries have no rights whatsoever.
Well, yeah, we already know that.
It's actually, ours is quite magnificent and something to be envied around the world, and we haven't had it very long. Less than 40 years, in fact.
Yeah.
Which is hard to believe that that when you read it and you go, these have only been our rights for 40 years? Like, what the fuck did they do before that? Because they're the most common sense things. For those of you who may not know, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was introduced in 1982 when our Constitution was ratified. We've technically only been the Canada as we know it since 1982.
Think about that for a second. We just celebrated our 150th.
Yeah. Well, that's our 150th anniversary of being on this land, but it's not really, we weren't the Canada that we are now.
No, that's all relatively new.
And it's fairly simple. Let me see if I can do this without looking. Off the top of my head, the four fundamental charter rights the four fundamental freedoms are the freedom of association, freedom of peaceful assembly, the freedom of conscience and religion, and the freedom, my favorite, that's just so beautifully worded, the freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression.
We are allowed to think whatever we want to think, and we are allowed to express it.
And that includes freedom of the media and freedom of the press and other communication media.
But, again, that's something that's been taken because of, what's his name, who privatized fucking, the media.
Yeah.
It's now, we don't, the whole point of the media, the whole point of it was supposed to be independent of its own free will. That doesn't exist when you have two companies that own all of it.
That's right. And
that doesn't exist.
The freedom of these freedoms aren't granted to us against other companies, against other citizens. This is to protect us from the government. It's only the government and government agencies that these protect us against. It's not against Joe Schmo on the street. So you can't go, I can say whatever I want about you. I have freedom of the press. Well, no, that's not exactly how it fucking works.
Like to think it does, but no. I mean, that is how it works, but it's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It shouldn't. It's not supposed to. You're right. As far as our Charter of Rights, I don't have it right in front of me. And I used to have them memorized. I did have them at one time all memorized. And keep in mind, these are fundamental rights that protect us from the government. They protect us against police agencies. and other government officials that may wish to not allow us to have the democracy that we have. And as I said, it is quite rare, believe it or not. Not every country, even not every democratic country, has things like this.
Yeah, it's a crazy fucking thought, but yeah, it's true.
And it's a pretty magnificent thing. And one of you asked us to talk about it, and I'm not sure to what degree. Gord, do you recall exactly what we're supposed to talk about?
It pertains to that specifically?
I am out without my notes right now, so I'm flying blind here. I don't remember what her question was exactly.
Well, it was a matter of actually just basically the knowledge of, these are what the rights are. So taking those rights and then trying to put a spin on it for the personal gain of a multinational is not what those rights are for.
Well, no, it's not at all.
No. But a lot of people, that's how it's being used and perceived now.
Right.
So it's all a matter of trying to take that power back, if you will, and say, no, look, read the rights. Here's they are in plain fucking English, easy description underneath. This is what it is. Stop being a fucking dick.
They are very plain English. That's one thing I really like about it. We have the one I do remember, and it's the one that Gord and I are taking full advantage of. I think it's possibly the first one, is the right of every Canadian citizen to vote in a free election, and as such, to be a member of that election if they want. They're qualified for membership just by proxy. We're all allowed to run, that means.
Yes, that's right.
Any one of us is allowed to run. And that's a really cool thing. That's also not a guaranteed freedom in other countries. There are some countries. Saddam Hussein was one of the ones who made it. He had free elections, sure, but it was illegal to run against him.
Yeah.
You could vote for whoever you wanted, but it was illegal to run against him. Punishable by death. So, what else?
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's cool, eh? The UN says you have to have free elections. You go, sure, no problem. Done deal. You can vote for whoever you want. I'm the only one who's ever allowed to run. You will all die if you do. And have a good vote. Yeah, there's lots of countries that do shit like that. And you see people go to the polling stations and voting. You're like, really, why? Well, because now it's illegal not to vote.
Yeah.
I'm the only one allowed to run, and it's illegal not to vote. But if you vote against me, you'll be killed. That's just brilliant. That's when these things need to be changed.
I still remember in was it the last Summer Olympics? I'm not sure I remember this. I think it was the last Summer Olympics. When the Iranian soccer team, they were actually told by Saddam Hussein, if you don't win gold, I'm going to murder your family.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Talk about taking a gold fucking medal too far. It's like, holy, you're Iran. Nobody cares. I mean, or Iraq, whichever one it was. I don't know.
Okay. I've got a couple of them in front of me here. I don't have the whole thing, but I've got my notes are on 85 different pages. So I do have that every citizen has the right to enter, remain, or leave Canada.
Yep.
That's cool. Again, not worldwide. Every citizen of Canada and every person who has the status of a permanent resident has the right to move and take up residence in any province and to pursue a gaining of livelihood in that province. Do you hear that, Quebec? Just make sure you heard that.
Hey, Quebec, are you listening?
Because English people are allowed to live in your province. Well, they never signed the Constitution, so they don't have to give a shit. What else? We have the right to liberty, life, liberty, and the security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of justice. So you can have life and liberty as long as you don't get in the way of justice.
Which is because that's the government's job. Their job to get in the way of justice.
Yeah, exactly. But, justice is a pretty loose term nowadays.
Yeah.
And then these are the ones that everyone